All right.
Okay. Well, we're going to begin our First Baptist Church budget conversation as related to our 2022 ministry plan. Tonight, we have our church deacon chair, Randy Jarman, is here. Our finance chairperson, Janice Bauer, is here. Our moderator, Russell Clifton, is here. Our trustee chairperson, Frank Green, is here. Elizabeth, as our bookkeeper, Elizabeth Bird, is here. So we have everyone who can answer any kind of questions. I'm going to present our budget for us, and then hopefully answer most of your questions. But if you have any questions tonight, you can answer them. You can ask them. And for those who are watching on YouTube after the event, after you're done, if there are other questions that you have that we don't answer tonight, please feel free to contact me or contact any of our church leadership here to provide those answers for you. I will say that you have received a budget brochure from the church over the past week. Tonight I'm just going to present some information in support of that. I will also say that we have a more detailed line item budget for you if you would like to see something like that. If you want to know how much we spend on Vacation Bible School or how much different things are, those are all available to you. So I want to just be transparent that all of those things are available to our church's sacred partners, but not everybody wants to see that. So we try to make it as broad of a picture as we can, with the caveat that for those who want to go deeper, we have that information for you. And Elizabeth Bird at the church office can provide that information to you. So it's written in a little bit. We've tried to present it in a way that helps us to understand how our budget supports our ministry and our mission, but you can also see how it all breaks down as well. So let me take a moment to share my screen with us, and we will to help us to go forward from there. And Brenda, if you could put everyone on mute for us. So
Okay.
I'll present from there. And then we'll come back and if there's any questions we have, people can ask us there. Okay. So this is our ministry plan budget for 2022. And I'm going to first of all go over our income for 2021, kind of give you a sense of where we are and why we're making plans for the coming year. So year to date, as of the end of October, not 2030 though, as of 10/31, not the year 31, but 2021. So we had at the end of October, as of last Sunday, our budget offering was $352,548. This was a decrease from October of 2020 of $28,131. So that's a decrease of 8% from last year. I will say that originally we were looking at our numbers from September, and at the end of September we were 10% down. At the end of October we are 8% down. So we actually had we've had our biggest giving months of the year in October, and if you not include December's of our special offerings from last year, it's one of our biggest just normal months and over since the beginning of the pandemic, since around March of 2020. So a few things. In the middle of September, we recognized that we were about 10% down, and so one of the biggest sort of holes or not places we weren't spending in our budget for this year was for our associate pastor position. And so we stopped our search for our associate pastor position until January of 2022. That should be 2022. So we stopped looking for the fall. We still have a search committee. They're still working, but we weren't planning on bringing anyone in at the end of this year. We wanted our budget in our funding to really kind of catch up at the end of this year. That position represented about 60%, about $60,000 of our 21 budget. So a few things of how we're addressing these financial challenges. One is we've been working this year to cultivate generosity as a spiritual discipline. I preached a sermon series on money and generosity in August. We also are making a key shift where we're beginning to focus our generosity on mission instead of management. And so one of the things you will see when we come to discuss our budget is we're talking about how the money that we give to the church helps our ministry priorities as a church. And that's a key shift we're working to make this year. And finally, we're working to meet the challenge of this year, of the challenge of our goal for budgeting next year, this year. And so we think that if our church just continues to give as they in our normal mission offerings, that we will raise enough money to pay for all of our bills. But that's not enough, because that meeting those bills doesn't represent our the associate pastor position. And so what we're attempting to do with our Rejoice offering is to raise $50,000 above our 2021 expenses. And whatever is given at the end in 2021 that's not used in 2021 will spill over into our 2022 budget and ministry year. And so what we're attempting to do is to have $50,000 in cash that will automatically be used in 2022 to kind of help us to hire our associate pastor position and feel confident that we will have the money to do well with them and to invite them into our congregation and for all the new things that they're going to help us to do. And that position, associate pastor, will focus on three things: children, youth, and adult discipleship. And I'll talk about that in our ministry plan. So here's our ministry plan for 2022. And then I'll give you sort of what we're hoping to do ministry-wise, and then how our budget supports it. So our top three ministry priorities for next year are these. One is children, youth, and adult discipleship. We think that the key to strengthening our church is helping our children, youth, and adults to grow in their faith in Jesus, to have more children to accept Christ as their Lord and Savior, to have more youth understanding what faith means and how that shapes their lives and their future, and for having adults being shaped in the image of Jesus for the sake of the world. The second one is mission, outreach, and fellowship. These three things of outreach, of reaching out and reaching in, are key to strengthening our church as we continue to make a difference in our community. And as we do that, God grows our fellowship and strengthens our church. And the final ministry priority is worship. Worship is the foundation of what we do as a church, and it has grown and strengthened during the pandemic and coming afterwards, and we look forward to seeing what that will look like in the coming year. So a few ways that we will support each one of these ministry priorities with our budget. So the first thing that this ministry priority does is we will provide personnel. And so a few ways that support this particular priority. One is the senior pastor position that supports all three of the priorities. But unique to this particular one is our associate pastor discipleship ministries that we hope to hire at the very first part of next year. Our children's ministry coordinator fits under this priority. Our youth ministry coordinator, Olivia, fits under that priority. Preschool and nursery workers, which we're working to rehire now, fit under this priority. But also our operations folks, our office manager, our facilities manager, our custodians, and our church administrator. All of our operations folks support each one of these ministry priorities. We also have programming pieces that fit under these. Preschool and children's vacation Bible school, youth ministries, and adult education ministries. All of those will support this ministry priority. Our second ministry priority is mission, outreach, and fellowship. So personnel that includes that are the senior pastor, and then we have a volunteer mission pastor, and that's Brenda Cohen. Brenda's volunteer work to us is worth over $10,000 a year that she provides in leading our mission committee and our mission work, and we're very grateful for that. Also supporting our mission and outreach and fellowship is our office manager, facilities manager, custodians, and church administrator. Programming for this includes our mission support that goes to our Cooperative Baptist Fellowship partners and other mission partners that we partner with. Our adult fellowship ministries that include food support and those type of things, and pastoral supplies. And then our third ministry priority is worship. Personnel includes myself as proclaimer and preacher, our minister of worship and music, Don Wisdom, our organist, accompanist, who is Grace Broadbeck, our pianist is Eve Lipoff, and then our media coordinator, Olivia, who is in the back coordinating our media team, and then our operations, office manager, facilities manager, custodians, and church administrator. And programming includes our worship and music supplies, worship ordinances, and instrument maintenance, sound equipment technology. And this year, for the coming year, we have a grant from the FBC Endowment Fund. This is from our First Baptist Church Endowment of a little over $15,000 that will support the music and ministries that we do over the coming year. And that will include some special music events, music supplies, actually sheet music, and other types of things along the way. Undergirding all three mission priorities is our operations ministries, and this includes our office, our First Baptist Church office, everything from mailings to a graphic design to printing and those type of things, and then all of our facility cost support all of our ministry supplies. If you think about it, I mean, we pay to have a facility to keep things looking good outside and inside. And all of that we do with facility is designed to help us to do youth, children, and adult discipleship, fellowship, and missions and outreach and worship. And so we utilize that facility to help make that possible. And so if we begin to think about our operations as the support basis for all of the things that we do, helps us to realize these are the things that focus us into ministry. Our total ministry budget plan for this year, for the coming year in 2022, is that to do all that we hope to be done is $531,521. That is our fundraising goal. We've built our budget around that goal. We think that is a doable goal, and so we've planned our personnel, our operations, and our programming around that goal. This is an increase of $3,400 from last year, and and I'll show you what that increase is in a second. Just to kind of give you a sense of how all that's broken down, we've got some great Gator colors here. 41% of our budget goes to our first priority, which is youth, children, and adult discipleship. 31% goes to worship, and 28% goes to missions and fellowship. And so you kind of get a chance to see how when we spend our money, we're focused on specific things to help us to do God's mission in our community and on our corner. Our total budget, the largest increase in the budget was our operations expenses. There are things that we just continue to go up, everything from insurance to other things related to the building, and that increase was $5,900. This budget this year represents a personnel decrease in budgeting to $1,500, with no increase in missions. Programs and other ministries were a decrease of $900. We've worked hard at keeping our budget as trim as we can, and still to be able to do really great ministry. And you see that we do a really great job of working with the capital that we have, but also continuing to push forward to try to do the next stage of what God has for us to do. So that is our my little presentation that I wanted to offer for us today. It goes along with the brochure that we sent out. And so let me just ask if there are any specific questions that anyone has, either for me, for Jan, for Randy, for Elizabeth, or any others that might help you understand what we'll be voting on. So next Sunday, right after our worship service on November the 14th, we will officially vote on this budget of $531,000 as our guide for our 2022 ministry. What kind of questions that you might have for any of us when you have us all together here today? You're on mute, so if you've got anything, make sure you either raise your hand or place yourself on mute and let us know. Miss Joanne, you're on mute, so if you could try to unmute yourself to ask your question. Are you, let's see, can you unmute her, Brenda, or is that?
She has to unmute herself. I can make people quiet, but I can't make them talk.
So if you can find something on your phone, Joanne, that has looks like a little microphone on it, you can press that and it should unmute you. And if you're on your phone, you may have to scroll to the left to be able to find the unmute button.
She's either on a computer or an iPad.
Okay.
And if you can't find it, you have to type it in the chat.
Yeah. Should I keep on going, Miss Joanne? Okay.
You said go on.
Joanne, if you've got the other thing you can do is you can call me when we're done and I'll answer your question. I'm sorry, the mute is a little confusing tonight. Anyone else want to try the challenging part of taking yourself off of mute and asking a question? Russell?
Just doing that so that I can respond if I needed to.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we clear as mud related to our budget for next year? Janice, Jan, or Randy, do y'all have anything you would like to add tonight?
I would like to make a comment, and that is I appreciate the simplicity of the brochure and the simplicity of your presentation. Because when I see the whole big old spreadsheet, it all just kind of, Elizabeth can tell you, it just all goes this way for me. But you have made it very simple to follow. And good. Thank you for that.
I agree with that. And I also wanted to add that I know how hard all of you worked, Lynn and Elizabeth and you, in trying to keep this budget, reasonable. And I think it's a remarkable job that you've done with it. And I certainly hope we can meet our goals for next year. I don't see why we can't. I feel real good about what we're heading into. I did want to say we did have 5 Sundays in October, which may be one reason we're a little higher, but I don't know if we had 5 Sundays last year or not. Did we?
Well, we've had 5 Sundays in other months of this year, and we didn't reach that goal. So so we had more in October than we've had really since November of last year. But we had some special fundraising events last November too, and so it goes back to really kind of March of 2020 before we really had that kind of big of just normal month. So five months hasn't really. So it was helpful.
I think your sermon series in August was really right on and really did help. It just seems like our church, I've said this from the very beginning when we started the generosity workshops, that our church responds to need. We're a generous congregation.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Eric.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes, sir, Randy.
I just have one question. When we hire the newest associate pastor, if this person is from out of state and we have to pay their moving expenses, will that money come from the Rejoice offering?
So we will work through the details of that, but we will kind of, our expectation is that we will hire them probably I mean, it will take, we would love to do it in the first quarter, but I have a feeling it'll be somewhere around March or April. It would come out of some of the budgeted expenses from that position that we haven't spent in the first part of the year, that when we didn't have them hired.
And I
Okay.
think Lynn said something about it would probably be about 7,000 in moving expenses.
That's kind of what we've budgeted. Just to be clear, the money that's given to the Rejoice offering will go into the budget for 2022, and it will be spread out into all of that. But so it will be used to help all of our budget, but it helps us to make sure that we have enough money for that particular position.
So if I understand the answer to Randy's question, basically, we are expecting to approve the monthly salary and benefits for the associate pastor probably for January, February, and March. And that will be a source of money for moving expenses.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I will tell you that the search committee has, we are sort of making preparations for a variety of scenarios. Our plan is to be ready in January to give leadership to this new search. And if somehow we need to come back with the deacons to look at a different personnel plan or something like that, we'll come back and kind of be ready for all of that. This is an important position. We've got a certain staffing plan at the moment. If somehow this isn't the right staffing plan, we'll come back and make some adjustments in January. But the search committee wants to start pretty quickly. We've already are starting to think about how to begin to look for people so that we can move rather swiftly once we get started in January and sort of know where we are financially. All right, I don't want to push us to stay any longer, but I want to make sure all questions are answered too. All right. Well, I will call this to. I'm going to stop recording. And so for those who joined us on here, thank you for your time. Once again, feel free to ask your question by calling or emailing me or Jan or Randy, and we would love to answer any kind of questions for you. And we thank you for joining us by the video.